So this class is it's a class on national and international issues, and the class was just recently recertified in the Faculty Senate to focus half on U.S. issues and half on international issues, and it's a really, and because the class is so international, because there are people here from so many parts of the world, it really gives us an opportunity to bring the global, to make the global local, because people from different areas of the world have an opportunity to speak and talk about things that matter, and increasingly that matter to all of us. And we're going to spend the day talking about that and how that works. And so today's class is called The Global is Local. And then next week we're going to go in different directions. And I want to remind you that we just go in lots of different places. So if there's something that you feel like, hey, we should be covering in this class, give it time. We have a long semester. We'll be bouncing around to lots and lots of different areas. And I just find that just works absolutely the best for me. One of the things that I want to talk about are the dialogues that are happening with World in Conversation, and I want to be really clear that you understand how this works. And we'll be sending another email out, but today the first half of today's class, we're really going to talk about this. The groups, they're 2-week periods, so there's 6 2-week periods, and then an additional week for makeup groups. Okay, so in that 2-week period, you only do one dialogue, and it goes from Monday mornings to Sunday evenings. So there are a bunch of you, for example, who did your first dialogue, and then you went back in and signed up for your second one. My team took you out of the system. So you got credit for the first dialogue, but the second one you're no longer registered for, and you should have gotten an email about that. And if you didn't, you'll get it by tonight probably. But you have to wait. Once you do your first dialogue, and those dialogues all end on February 9th, then you'll get another email probably like on the 6th, maybe like next Wednesday, saying like, hey, okay, go in and start signing up for your second dialogue, okay? And those would be the ones that happen between these dates. And so just keep that in mind, right? We can't have people, there are the number of dialogues available every 2 weeks for everyone in class. And you only get credit for one dialogue in that 2-week period. And what I want to emphasize once again, now you've started to do this, don't miss a dialogue. Missing a dialogue is kind of like missing class. You get to miss class twice, and after that we start taking points off. And you can get some points back, but you have to write a paper to get the points back, and you don't really want to do that. Maybe you do, I don't know, it's not that difficult, it's not such a problem, but you have to watch a class online and then write the paper in order to get the points back. So we don't take any excuses, we don't need anything from the health center, we don't need anything. There's nothing you can do to tell us that you're excused from class, because you're never excused from class, right? I mean, you never have to come. But once you miss more than 2 classes, we start deducting points. Again, you can get them back if you write the paper, and we explain all that in the syllabus, okay? So it's all in the syllabus, okay? So same here, we're going to have makeup dialogues on that last week, but we're limited in the number of makeup dialogues we're going to have. So don't miss your dialogue, and you can only make up one. So if you miss 2 dialogues, if you miss your first week's dialogue and your second week dialogue, well, you're going to lose the points for one of those weeks because you can only make up one. Okay? So just stay on top of these things. And don't worry, a lot of you missed a dialogue already this week. Whatever, it's okay. Just don't miss another one. It's all good. We're all going to die. C's earned degrees. Life is good. So once again, let me emphasize this. There are 5 foundation, we call them foundation dialogues, and 1 global dialogue. That means on any given week, there's only going to be about 80 seats for the globals because we don't need that many, because you're only doing 1. We just have to fit the whole class in. But we have many more seats for the foundation dialogue. So try to get into a global, but if you can't get into a global, then do a foundation, okay? Always pick the dialogue that's closest to the date. Like, don't go 2 weeks out. We really need to fill all of the seats at the beginning of the week so that we have enough seats. We can't have empty seats in the groups. Is that cool? We good? Got it? All right, man. We're doing dialogues this semester with students in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and in Colombia. And these are a group of women in Afghanistan. And it's I think, really quite a unique opportunity to be having dialogues in countries that are in varying degrees of conflict. And, there aren't Americans. As far as I know, we are the only program in the world, in the United States, that's has an ongoing dialogue program with students in Afghanistan. So that's pretty cool, I think. This is from the other day. These are some students in Herat, Afghanistan, and these are some of you. You may see yourself in there. Here is a photo that I took the last time I was in Bogota. This is from last semester, and we have dialogues with the Universidad del Rosario in Bogota, and it's one of the oldest universities in the Western Hemisphere. It's a really, really important university in Colombia, and it's really also quite a unique opportunity. So these are Penn State students here in Pond Lab, and with students at El Rosario. And here's a dialogue from the other day with students in Kabul, Afghanistan. Okay, so these are some of you in there. JD, I want to introduce you to JD, and JD is is really taking it upon himself to. He's one of our global dialogue coordinators, and is just going to walk us through some things that we need to do. But first, let's get a few volunteers. Who's your guy?
Yo, where's Jacob Haskins? I talked to you the other day. If you could come up front, please. There he is.
And then we just need 2 more volunteers. Anybody at all. We're going to do a quick dialogue today. Just 2 people, random, anybody, doesn't matter. Who would like to have what's up, dog? Anybody? We need 2 people. No. Who would like to volunteer? Anybody? You want to volunteer? Yo, come on. And one more person.
Got one more. You in the back.
All right, Mom. Awesome. First off, bro, can you talk to him about...
So you had a dialogue with us with Najaf, Iraq, right? Yeah. So you can take that. So I just wanted to ask you, first off, what was your experience like in that dialogue?
I will say the global dialogue was like a total game changer. Just being able to speak to somebody on the other side of the world is amazing.
All right. What is something that you took away from that dialogue?
The most important thing I took away from that dialogue was we talked about how students in Iraq are almost bribed by their government to study abroad and not come back to Iraq. And to me, that was really interesting because in the U.S., the culture is you study abroad to gain the culture and then you come back and bring that culture with you. But in Iraq, they're sending their students away.
And then just in general, why is it, in your opinion, why is it important for, say, all of us here at Social 19, whether you be international students or domestic students in the United States, why is it important for us to talk to other people from different countries around the world?
Honestly, to just gain a better sight of the world. I mean, you would never think that one country's government would bribe their students to leave and not come back. And to me, that's totally eye-opening.
All right. And I guess just one other question I have is just what were some similarities that you saw within the dialogue between you and some people that you met in Najaf? And what are some differences?
The first thing we talked about was, what does your family know a lot about? And that honestly kickstarted the conversation. It puts you in a way more personal position with the people in Iraq. You're not looking at them as on a screen. You're looking at them as real people.
Cool. Dude, thanks, man. Have a seat. We're going to... You can hold on to the mic. Bro, can you walk us through a few things before we hop in?
No problem. So there are just a few things that we all should know when we're entering a global dialogue. We're working with a lot of technology, and sometimes that can cause some issues in communication. So first off, we just want you to know, like, slow your speech down. I know when we're talking to our peers here in America, we can talk very fast, but, you know, when we're dealing with the technologies and the microphones, sometimes it doesn't pick it up as clearly if you're speaking really quickly. So with that, we want you to slow down, slow your speech, and also we want you to enunciate your words, because sometimes when we have the two rows, you're sitting in the back, and if you're talking like this, you know, the microphone's not going to pick it up. So we really want you to project your voice in order for our partners over in, you know, Afghanistan, Iraq, or in Colombia to be able to understand you as clear as possible. All right?
That's
Cool.
That's really big, because you might be laughing like, no one's actually going to speak this quietly. But you all are going to speak that quietly if you don't think about it. So really pronunciate and project your voice.
And we will ask, you know, our partners in our global sites and you as well to repeat yourselves if we notice that you're not speaking up loudly. So just expect that. We also want you to be curious. Great example was Jake here. Jacob. Okay. In the dialogue, he was sitting and he heard something and he was just, hey, I have questions about that. And I'm sure that many of you in these global dialogues will have questions about the people we're talking to. Don't feel afraid to ask questions. We want you to be curious with everybody that we're talking to, just as they're curious to meet you all and to learn about your experiences here in the United States, because we have the, you know, these preconceived notions of what it may be like to live in these different places, just as they do. But what we're trying to do is just really be able to understand one another through our own experiences. So please feel free to ask any questions that come to your mind so we can talk about it and just learn from one another. Another thing is, like, maybe it's like another awkward portion. We want you all to use names. So a part of my job is communicating with our partners. So when I do that, I will get all your attendance sheets. I'll get all the names of the people in that dialogue, send them the list of names, as well as they will send their participants' names as well. We encourage you to just use names. It will personalize the conversation. It'll make people feel like their opinions and thoughts and views are validated, and it just it'll just give people like the feeling of having a stake in the conversation, in the dialogue that we're having. So please use names. It makes everybody feel better. It humanizes everybody, and that's kind of one of our goals here. Not kind of, it is one of our goals here at World of Conversation and Social 19.
And it makes, when I'm on this side of the screen as well, it's not just for them, but when somebody on the other side of the world calls me by my name, I feel it just changes something. It connects us in a cool way. So
Yeah.
Imagine somebody just constantly saying, hey, you, hey, you. Or if they actually say your name, it'll be a huge difference.
Yeah. Another thing is, like, please show up with energy. Like, we know it's early. You know, I get up at 5 a.m. every day to make it into the centers to help run these global dialogues, and you guys have to do it one time. And I'm not saying that it's not hard. I know you're tired. We will have coffee, we have tea, we'll have some snacks for you. So if you don't get to eat breakfast, we'll have that, you know, that accommodation. But we want you to show up and feel excited to be in the dialogue, to talk to these people that you probably will never speak to again for the rest of your lives. And it's just really important that, you know, you show up, you know, ready, get a good night's rest, and just, you know, come in and just exude that energy, because the people we're talking to in Iraq and Afghanistan, it's like the end of their day. It'll be 4:30 in Afghanistan when we meet with them, and it'll be, what, I think 3 p.m. in our Iraq sites. So they're nearing the end of their days while we're just starting ours. So they're all up in, hold on.
They're rocking and rolling.
Yeah, yeah, they're rolling.
But wait, well, when do dialogues, I hear murmuring, dialogues don't start at 5 a.m. yellow, right?
No, I just wake up at 5 a.m. Just
What time
clarify.
do they start here?
So our dialogues for Afghanistan will start at 7 a.m., and our Iraq dialogues will start at 8 a.m. So we know it's a little early, but when we get rolling with Colombia in the middle of February, those will be at 4 p.m., so those will also be an option.
And can I just say this? If you have to be at a dialogue at 7 a.m. in Afghanistan, it's probably because the primary reason is because we're having dialogues with Afghan women, and there are security issues for Afghan women. Afghanistan is in a war, as is Iraq, and there are a lot of security issues for all of our students that they need to try to get home before it's dark. It's really dangerous. And a lot of these students are coming from a half hour, an hour and a half away just to have the dialogue. And it can be dangerous for them to do that. So we need to have the dialogues early so that they stay out of danger. So when you're waking up, it really early, and you may be thinking, oh, in the moment, I don't really want to do this. Just keep in mind that we have the luxury of being able to walk across campus and know that there isn't a bomb that's going to go off or something. You know what I mean? So this is big. So keep that in mind. Okay, bro, body language. I just want to go back to this.
No problem.
Photo.
So it comes along with the energy. Lots of times when I'm sitting, watching, and observing these dialogues, I noticed that there are participants that seem to be putting their heads down or maybe have their eyes shut. So what this projects to our partners is a lack of investment in the work that we do. So we just encourage you to promote good body language and just be invested within the dialogue. And there are things called mirror neurons. So if you are sitting here and you're excited to be here, you're getting all up in arms. I was gonna say up in arms. That's not the right thing, but just you're just having fun.
Yeah.
They're gonna see that. And they're going to come back and, give you the same thing, and it'll just promote a better dialogue. You'll have better conversations, and you'll build connections and relationships with people across the world.
Yo, man, even just look at this photo right here. Okay, so her arms are closed. She's talking, right? But even just look at the language. First off, the hoodie's on. Take your hoodie off, man. I know, maybe it's a bad hair day at 7 in the morning. Come on, right? See, do the best you can. Maybe it's a really bad hair day. Keep your hoodie on, but in which case, yeah, keep it on, right? Don't embarrass us. So, but just look at the language. It matters what the language is. Okay, is that cool? Really, it's once again, this is here. His arms are. That's fine. However they are, that doesn't really matter. But watch us. Let's try to stay really focused. Is that cool? Got it? All right, man. Is Mr. Yeah. You gonna put him on? We're gonna go on the right stream.
Hey,
Mr. Rashidi.
Hello, Sam.
How are you? My
Fine.
friend?
And
It's
you?
lovely to see you.
It's
As
good.
always. Hey, so Mr. Rashidi, thanks. So first off, we're just going to have, JD is going to walk us through just an example of a dialogue with you.
Yeah.
And this is your, we can go ahead. Why don't you just,
All right. So just first off, I want to challenge you all up here to, when you're responding or when you're asking questions, just try to leave his culture, his nationality out of it, and just ask questions you're curious about. All right. So first off, I just wanted to pose the prompt, which you had already. And Mr. Rashidi, that is, what is something your family knows a lot about?
Did you ask me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't hear what did you say. Can you repeat
See,
once
now
again?
I probably need to just go ahead and slow down and enunciate here. So, what is something your family knows a lot about?
There are lots of things that my family knows about, but clearly, what are they curious? I have a family. My son, my daughter, my two sons, and my daughter, and my wife. Yeah, I'm really curious about my education of my children, my kids. Yeah, how should I raise them, and how should I teach them to be really kind and to be really good person.
okay.
And for I guess my question for you then
No,
is
hang on. Let's kick it off.
kick it off. Oh, I guess we can just share so from that we would like you to go ahead and from what he said, ask a question that you're interested in.
And every time when you start, always say what your name is. And here's another thing, everyone. Hang on, Mr. Rashidi, this is a sample. We're just walking through a workshop here. So
Yeah, it's okay.
always remember that no matter where the screen is, when you're talking to someone, look for the microphone, wherever the microphone is in the room, and look into the microphone. So it may seem weird at first, but look in the microphone. And then when he's talking, you can look at him, but when you're talking, you want to be in the mic. Who wants to go first? Who has a question for Mr. Rashidi?
You're both looking at me, so I'll go first.
No, wait, you have a question. Go ahead.
My name is Mia, and I just want to know what you like to do for fun.
What I like to do for fun.
Yes.
I really don't know, but I hang out with friends, with my family. Yeah, go out for sightseeing. Yeah, it's fun for me. And also, dialogue is a good fun for me to talk with you, to solve many problems, to solve many misconceptions, misunderstandings, which happens in two sides of the words. Yeah, it's fun for me.
He's from Kabul, Afghanistan.
No, you have to ask him.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Sam.
Go ahead, ask him.
Hi, my name is Ariella, and I just found out you're from Kabul, Afghanistan. What's the weather like there right now? Because it's freezing here.
Yeah, can you repeat it once again? Sorry.
What's the weather like over there right now?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's minus 15 degrees Celsius.
Ooh, damn.
Hold up.
Fif-
Minus 15 degrees Celsius.
15
Little
degrees.
different.
Yeah. That's
So,
cool. Okay, keep going.
Hold on.
sorry, a follow-up question. So can you say where you live? Is it mountainy or is it like flat lands and stuff?
Yeah, I live outside of the Kabul city. It's a suburb, I can say. Or we can say it's a village. Yeah, like a village. It's 17 district of Kabul. Yes, I live there. Yeah, it's a house with a big yard with 300 trees in my yard.
Hi, my name's Jacob. You said that you like to teach your kids how to be kind. If you don't mind telling me, what does your family do for family bonding or family time?
Yeah, sorry if you repeat that once again.
Yeah, sure. You just said that you raise your children to be kind people. Do you mind sharing with us what you do for your family time or your family bonding?
Yeah, let me say something. When something happens in your side and in something, let me say in another way. When the extremists in both sides say something, for example, George W. Bush said, Christ war, I can't say that word, the Christian against Muslim. Yeah, they break all Muslims together to fight against American. But when we talk in dialects, we saw the American people are really kind and they're really good people. Yeah. If we have dialogue, if we talk to each other, we know both sides is really kind and really good. If we count the circles that we are surrounded by the name of religion, ethnicity, or something else, if we come out of that and we talk with the people who are against us, who are in conflict with us, we can solve our problems. I strongly believe to that. I want to raise my children to know these kind of things. There are lots of kind people all over the world. I don't believe to the borders, to the circles like religion or ethnicity or black and white or other things. I don't believe them. I want my children to know that there is no difference between human. We are all human beings, and they must love the people the other side. and they must talk to them. If there is some problem, some misunderstanding, they should talk to them. They should solve their problems. Yes, it's this.
Hey, Mr. Rashidi, what question, are your children awake, by the way? Are they sleeping?
They are sleeping.
Yeah, all right. Can you, why don't you ask, what question do you have for one of my students?
Let me think. I come with answers. No question. Yes, let me think and find the question.
All right. Well, hang
What do you feel about people, about Muslims, or about the people who live in Afghanistan and Iraq or Middle Easterns? What do you think about them? What kind of people are the? Maybe I say all the days they portray with the gun. Yeah, they show fighting and war and something like this. What do you think about the people in Afghanistan or Iraq?
How about that? What do you think
Or
about the
even
people
in
in
Iran?
Afghanistan or Iraq? Go ahead.
I'm Mia again. I think that they're just people. I think of you guys like I think of any of us. I think you guys are just going through a different kind of, I don't know, different life than we are. I don't really think of you guys any differently. I think it's just like the circumstances that you guys may be enduring right now are unfortunate and unfair, but I believe that like we are no different than you guys are because like you said, like there are kind people all around the world and you're kind and we're sitting here and having a conversation. So I don't really see you guys differently other than the fact that you guys are going through something a little bit different than we are going through.
Somebody else want to?
Thank you. Thank you.
I see people in Afghanistan and Iraq as people fighting for their freedom, and I really commend that. Just from speaking the other day on Tuesday to students in Iraq, they're in a position where they have the lower hand, we'll say, but they're still doing everything they can. They're going to school, they're learning what they can, they are becoming educated, and I really like that. I like to see that, and I commend that behavior a lot.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you.
Real quick.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, in that dialogue, like, what were some preconceived notions that may have been broken that you had prior to going in?
I should say, like, didn't really see much of, like, you never see us, in the U.S. at least, you never see much of the civilization side in Afghanistan and Iraq. You always see the war side of it. And just to be able to see students practicing their studies, telling us what their majors is, gave me a whole different view of what life in Iraq is.
Hey, what question do you have for Mr. Rashidi about his children?
Oh, I did have a question.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm Ariella again. How old are your children? And if they're old enough to be in college, do you want them to study a specific major, or will you allow them to study whatever they want?
Yeah, my oldest son is 14 years old, and my daughter is 8 years old, and she's going to be 9 in 30th of March, and my son is 3.5. But I let them to choose their way. I never force them to do anything. Even now, I let them to solve their problems and to do what they want.
Hey, can I? Okay, well, I want to say a couple things, Mr. Rashidi, to my class.
Can I ask one last quick
Yeah.
30-second question? Mr. Rashidi, when you're watching TV, what is your favorite thing to watch? What's your favorite show?
Hi, Jeff. Yes, what was the question? Sorry.
What is your favorite TV show?
Yeah, mostly I watch my Afghanistan TV, But sometimes I watch CNBC and CNN for the news.
CNN.
I never believe to the media, but I watch for the news.
So,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Rashidi, let me say something to the class here really fast. So, class, I've been, for whatever reason, very fortunate to, or I've made the decision to spend my life traveling around the world and meeting people. And I've had the good fortune, or just made the decision, I've probably been to about 50 countries, and I've lived in many of them multiple times, and I've lived abroad for many years. And I've met many, many people, from queens and kings to the poorest people that you could ever imagine on the planet. And people from all religions and backgrounds. And Mr. Rashidi, who is now my friend, is the kindest, gentlest soul I have ever met in my life. And
Thank you, Sam.
yeah, no, it's absolutely true. You know, I have said it before, and it is true. And so here, like the three of you have the opportunity to ask this man a question who I think, for whatever it's worth, is the kindest human being I have ever met. And I met some really kind human beings.
I don't think so. Sir.
No,
Don't feel that.
no, I have, my friend. So I want you to ask him a question with that in mind.
Hello again, Mariella. As Sam said, okay, so my question is, why are you so kind?
I don't think so. I'm so kind, but I try to be. I try to be kind.
Yeah. Did you have another question? What was your question you were going to ask? Oh, yeah, okay.
Hi, Mia again. I was wondering, this doesn't have to do with kindness, but I was wondering, like, what sports that you have played or that your children play, and what you like watching, like what sport you like watching or playing.
What are they playing?
Like, what sport do you, like, have you played, or your children, if they do play
Yeah,
sports?
yeah. When I was in my youngest, after 15 or to 26, I played soccer. Yes. Now I do my exercises. I'm not doing any other sports. I don't do it.
What is your favorite sport?
My favorite sport, soccer.
Yeah? Yeah. How about cricket? Also?
Cricket. I don't know about cricket much.
Yeah? Okay. Rafi can teach you. Yeah. Hey, so, okay. I think, Mr. Rashidi, at some point it will have you back. It's lovely to have you here. Do you have anything more you want to say as we close out, as we finish?
Yeah, to all the class.
Yeah, to the entire class.
Yes, I want to say to all.
Yep,
Yes, thank you. Yes, let me say this. In Afghanistan war, after 2001 to now, I think about more than $800 billion expended to Afghanistan war. If they put that money, 5% of that money, to the dialogue and to talking to each other, Afghanistan people and the people in the United States, we could beat definitely terrorism, and also we could have a really better world than now. I graduated from a military university. I know the people, when they talk to each other, I believe to this. When the people talk to each other, it's much better than we use troops or force against each other.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Rashidi.
Thank you to Sam.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll see you on Tuesday, Ms. Rashidi.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, so we will see you again. Yeah, thank you. Mr. Rashidi stays up late and watches every class, so he'll be watching us, and we won't watch him. Hey, so listen, thanks you all for participating. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, Mom. Yeah. Hey, a round of applause for these folks. And JD, thanks, man.
No problem. I'll see all of you sometime this semester. I'll be taking your attendance and setting up Global, so thanks for having me today.
Yeah. Thanks, JD.
My favorite thing about talking to someone like Mr. Rashidi is the fact that we're talking about Americans getting to know people in Afghanistan and Iraq. And my favorite thing about it is the fact that people in Afghanistan and Iraq are able to meet each other. Mr. Rashidi and Bassem, who you'll meet later in the semester, are really good friends because of the work that we're doing. And it's cool to see people who are from two different countries that we kind of assimilate as close to the same, or the same as in like the U.S. is the same as Canada kind of a thing. It's cool that they're able to live in two different places in the world and still get to know each other and be friends that are really close.
Yeah, they're actually, it's funny that, so the way I came to know him is one of our projects, one of the dialogue projects that grew out of World in Conversation was to put NATO soldiers and cadets into dialogue with civilians in conflict zones. And we picked Afghanistan, found a partner in Afghanistan, Rafi, who you will meet at some point this semester. And then Mr. Rashidi joined our team. And then we started putting cadets, people who would be officers and militaries around the NATO alliance, and including in the United States. We used to work here with ROTC. We did some dialogues with West Point, and then just various military academies. And that project went on for about 4 years, but because the team in Afghanistan really wanted to keep it going, and because so many students in Afghanistan wanted to continue to talk to American students, we just kept it going, and now we've broadened it out, and it is very much now part of the Social 19 class. It didn't used to be, but it is now, and we have the opportunity to do that. And I want to also say, you know, there have been a couple times. It's also very, it's a powerful experience. There have been a couple times when we've been in the middle of a dialogue. There was one time, and there was a bombing at the university, and the bombing ended up where we were in dialogue. It was right outside in the next building, and it ended up killing about 10 people. And we were in the dialogue when the bomb went off. And it's just one of these things that brings things home, you know, that you realize that that it matters. What happens on the other side of the world also matters here, because we've also had many students who have served overseas. Is there anybody who has been deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq? Where, Afghanistan or Iraq? Doug. Okay, when we do, make sure when we do the Afghan dialogue, when we bring somebody else in from Afghanistan, you come down, okay? So, where were you deployed? Yeah, okay. So, so this is so it matters, right? You know. Well, we'll talk at some point. I'll bring you up. I mean, we'll talk, right? So we don't have to do it now, but it matters. As you know, these things matter, and peace and war matter, and they matter to lots of people's lives. And I am serious. So here's this man on the other side of the world in Afghanistan who's Muslim, who is this just amazing, kind soul who I love now. I mean, he's my brother. And then, it's a game changer for the way I come to understand life. And it makes the world much smaller in so many different ways. So, for me anyway. But, and for me, it's not that I've so much had an opportunity to meet people like him. It's that at some point in my early 20s, I made a decision that that's how I was going to live my life. And so while other people were out spending their money on something over here, I was spending my money on meeting people. And it's just a thing, right? It's a choice that I made. But now I see these relationships I have with human beings around the world who are, I have brothers and sisters around the world in many, many different countries who are as close to me as I call them my brothers and sisters because that's how I feel. So that's part of what this class is. It's making these kinds of connections. But this class is also about talking about things that are in the news. And I want to kind of bring the globalization piece home because I feel like I want to say something about this because, there's this thing, this is in the news, and this is really big. And I think a lot of times, if we're not paying attention, we oftentimes don't really understand how big some things are. And, we get kind of lost in our lives, which is important, right? Our lives are important. Everybody has, as we saw last class, right? We saw, the various people who stood up to certain things. Those of you who have a parent or a loved one who is actively dying, or those of you, any number of things, just as examples. These things, they matter to us. But there's another way when things happening on the other side of the world also matter to us. And sometimes we don't fully realize it, and sometimes we don't realize it until it's too late. And just like those of us who raised our hands, I think I asked the question, how many of us have someone in our lives who's in the military or connected to the military the other day, and so many of you do. And so, these things matter. So I'm just going to, one of the things I like to do in this class is take something that's kind of a topic, a big topic of conversation really hitting the news, and knowing that, once again, most people aren't really taking the time to pay attention to it because you're busy doing other things. So I'm going to just give you like the Dr. Seuss version of it, or like the really simplistic version of it, and explain why it is that I think it really is big. If I'm bringing it in here and talking about it, so I think it's big. Like, for example, the current impeachment of Trump. Most of us have no idea what the issues are on the table. And at some point in time, last semester I did a class where I talked about Ukraine and the issues. Maybe I'll get to that, maybe I won't. But look, so this is really big. Like, this is one of those things that it's big, and it could get really, really big. The earth itself is a living organism. There's this idea that really came to life back in the 80s, this Gaia idea that the earth itself is a living organism. And when you sort of pull out in space and you look at the planet and you just see the planet Earth is this kind of pulsating place, it's alive. And it is, people started to conceptualize it as its own organism, and realizing that the earth is making decisions about itself that really have nothing to do with, or have very little to do with anything that we may want to imagine is best for it. And so, the age, and let me just say the following. I recognize that some of you have the idea that there's a creator, and the creator created the earth at a certain time, and some of you may believe that it was 5,000 or 6,000 years ago. I don't, I don't. I don't subscribe to that, but maybe it's true. I don't know. Like, I don't know like what is or isn't true, right? Dude, just checking in. Dude, long pause. Yeah, you know that happens. I was watching. So here's an idea. This is one way to look at it. Human beings have had a really pretty profound impact on the planet in lots of different ways. And it seems to me that this is part of what the argument of people who are studying global climate change. This is what's being discussed, and there's no question that we've had an impact on it. The question is how much of an impact, and how much of that impact is really going to have really devastating consequences for human life and the life of certain species. The planet's going to go on. It's a living organism. It doesn't need us. You know, we can have our religious belief systems about what the planet needs and or like what our place in the planet, but the fact is the planet. But if you take a perspective that I take, which is more of a long-term geological, scientific, historical perspective, and again, I might be wrong. It may be that there's a God who created the planet, created the world and all of its forms 5,000 years ago. Maybe that's true. I don't know. I just haven't dropped enough acid to kind of get to that place. But maybe I will one day, and it'll come to me, and I'll say, oh my God, that is absolutely how it is, right? My first encounter with God was when I was on mushrooms back, and so I was a pretty hardcore atheist back in the 80s, and then I was in rural Mexico, and in the region kind of between Oaxaca and the coast, and I took hongos, or hallucinogenic mushrooms, for the first time. I had never tripped. I was 26 years old, and I saw God. Right? I mean, I experienced God. I experienced the magic, and yeah, it was completely game changing. I didn't have to do it again. It didn't matter to me, right? So I don't say that in a kind of a loose way, but anyway. The Gaia idea is that naturally we imagine ourselves, and most of certainly in the West, our Western religions put human beings at the center of life because that's how we create our stories. Because it's the only way you can create a story, right? Like my story for the world begins with my own biography. So if I'm going to write a story for the planet, it's going to begin with my own biography. It's going to begin with the biography of the people around me and who they are and what I know and what I can see and what I can envision. And I'm going to use my own senses to tell that story because it's the only way I can tell the story, right? But the Gaia idea is that the world doesn't really need us. And that in fact, it may be that we've become kind of a virus in some way on the planet, that the planet, its best way of sort of healing itself in some way is it's going to have to get rid of a whole bunch of us. And climate change is kind of showing that, well, we've created these conditions and a lot of stuff is happening and it just doesn't care about us, and it really is going to be fairly destructive. And if you're, and that, you don't need to be, the worst thing to do is to be afraid, because being afraid means that you're not really paying attention. The best thing to do is to be curious, because you can't stop something like that happening. And the best thing you can possibly do is maintain your curiosity and then try to figure out how to live in a world that may well be really radically changing in ways that will have a profound impact on life on Earth, and will absolutely have a profound impact of everybody in this room, except maybe me as the oldest, but it is going to have a profound impact. But you know, you're also of this generation of people who can participate in really changing the face of life on Earth. It's really also very exciting. But don't bury your heads. But in any case, coronavirus, one thing that we're seeing, and I'm not an immunologist, and I don't study these things, but remember, I'm a generalist, so I study enough that I can say something without being too ignorant. And one of the things that we're seeing are these viruses that are really, really strong and mutating in some very profound and powerful ways. And this particular virus, the reason it's big, there are a handful of these what are called RNA viruses, and these are viruses that human beings can get and other species can get. And some of them can pass between species, and this one certainly can pass between animals and human beings. And so one thing that we're seeing is that you bring lots of species together. Lots of species have viruses, and they carry viruses, and then they start passing them back and forth, and all sorts of really intense things happen. This particular one is one of many, and it has emerged fairly quickly, and it can have an incubation period of 1 to 14 days. And this isn't new, right? We see lots and lots of viruses in the world. And we see flu epidemics in the world that are just profound. Here, let me show you something before I realize that I actually probably wanted to. I'm going to get in a hot second to how this is really. Yeah. So, there was a flu epidemic in the turn of the 20th century, like going from at the beginning of the 20th century, in the world that killed between 20 and 40 million people. The population of the world was much smaller, but this epidemic, this flu, killed about 5% of India, as an example. And we see flu, people die from flu all the time. You get a flu. Every flu season in the United States, people die from flus because they turn into these infections that really kill people. The flu isn't what kills people, but it's these other infections that kill people. So this one, for example, produces some kind of upper respiratory infection. It's not the virus itself, it's everything that comes out of that. And so people are getting it, and people are having these body breakdowns. The problem is that, now I'm going to talk as a sociologist, it can stay in the system for 1 to 14 days without ever really emerging itself, without even showing the symptoms. And so in that, what's being discussed right now, and what's being discovered is, at what point in those 1 to 14 days can people pass this virus along to other people? Meaning, like, I could have the virus and I could start passing that around to other folks, but without having any idea that I'm doing so. And that could happen for, 10, 12, 13 days. And I've been passing this all over the place. This virus will turn into an upper respiratory infection. So for most people, like those of us in this room who are young and healthy and have access to decent medical care, it's not going to kill us. We're mostly going to be fine. But if we're elderly, if we have other infirmities, if we have other issues that are happening in our lives, it's going to be a real, real problem. So look, here's the issue right now. The world is starting to shut down because this thing could just take off so fast that no one can really catch it. And so we're starting to shut down. Pay attention to the news. China's closing its doors. The borders between Russia and China are closing up. Flights out of Wuhan. Wuhan, the city of 11 million people in China, is basically barricaded. You can't get out. There's a cruise ship right now sitting off the coast of Italy that is in quarantine because of 6,000 people on the cruise ship. One couple, one woman in this Chinese couple, the wife of this Chinese couple, has a high fever. And they have no idea in the process of this cruise how many people she may have affected. So the ship pulls into port. It is in quarantine. Nobody can get off. They pull her off. They're checking her out. And they're saying, look, nobody goes anywhere. For how long? For 14 days? Like, where do you go? So we're seeing quarantines all over the world. This is globalization. This is social 19 race and ethnic relations. We are moving around the world. We are making things happen, but it has detrimental consequences. Look, 1% of the population. So what we're doing is the countries around the world are testing people, and they're checking them to see what their temperature is, right? So we have all these machines, and we test them really fast. And if your temperature is, right now, it's like 99.2 is like the threshold that people are using. But the problem is 99.2. That means you have a fever. At any one time, 1% of the world's population has a fever of at least 99.2. If you're pregnant, you're going to have a fever the whole time. So they're pulling people off. They're picking them out, pulling people off, putting them in quarantine who may or may not have this virus. And they're putting them off in quarantine with other people who do have the virus, which could be the worst possible thing you could do, but we have no idea what to do, right? And so China in 2005 had 233 air routes to and from cities in China and cities around the world. And in 2005, 3 million travelers went in and out of China in those 233 air routes. These are routes. Okay? In 2016, 739 air routes. China, we're going to talk about later, so that China has exploded in every possible way. 50 million passengers went in and out of China. This isn't just, look at that radical transformation. This is big. How many people could have this virus and be sending it around the world? This thing, look, I'm not a doomsday person. I don't live in doomsday world because I've smoked way too much weed to live in doomsday world, right? It's just like, whatever, it's all good, doesn't matter. We'll work it out. I don't live in that world where the end of the world is coming, like, oh my God. I don't say that. I'm not part of it. But I'm a sociologist, and I'm watching this stuff, and I'm saying, whoa, for how we think about race relations and cultural relations in Mr. Rashidi in Afghanistan, in the Chinese government and the Russian government, in Colombia and Taiwan and Australia, and on and on and on. These things are really, really, really big. And so you don't know where it's going to go. This is what happens really fast. Within a month, right? We could get to the end of the semester, and like all of you who had ideas that we're going to travel somewhere, because my wife and I are going to South Korea in May. And like, it's all set. We have our tickets. There's speaking engagements all being lined up. We're moving forward. That may not happen. It just may be a lockdown. That's where this stuff really matters, and how we talk about it really matters. And the things that Mr. Rashidi was saying about really seeing the humanity in other people really comes into play. Because this is what it's about. And this is where it's like, pay attention and see what it is and what it means and how it operates. And so, it's intense. Isn't that intense? Do y'all realize, look, this was the SARS virus. The SARS virus started in 2003. And, we kind of nipped it in the bud, and it was good, and we got it, and we took care of it. The SARS was the same kind of virus. But in 2003, there weren't a lot of people. And why China? Just because China. There are lots of, they say, well, it started at what's called a wet animal market, meaning this market in China where there are lots of animals from different species that come to be sold, and those animals come into contact with one another. Look, but I've been in those markets all over the world. They're not only in China, they're everywhere. And so why China? Just because they happen to be China. But there are these viruses that are happening in Haiti. There are these viruses that are happening in Ecuador. There are viruses that are happening in Vietnam. It's all happening all over. But China's a different thing. China's big. And there's movement. And it's happening. And like, oh my God. And so, it's okay. It is what it is. It's going to unfold the way it unfolds. But it's unbelievably fascinating. And we might be living, you just never know, but we might be living in one of those times where you're like, oh my God, this was really, really, really big, and I didn't even know it. I wasn't even paying attention. And for me, teaching this class, there have always been a lot of things that kind of happen along the way, and I don't necessarily talk about them in the moment. And I thought, like, nah, I got to talk about this. I want you to put your attention to this. This is really fascinating. And this could have a really big impact on our lives. Again, it's nothing to be, you can't be afraid of it. You have to just live it out of a deep curiosity. This is life. It's intense. Who has a question? Who wants to throw a question out? Or who would, bro? I need a couple of mics. Can you pass that back?
So, as you all know, I'm Frost. I'm from China. So don't panic. I didn't came back to China this winter. But, yeah, just for your more information.
Wait. Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on. Dude, can you just, wait, you got him? Yeah, you got him on the phone. Okay, go for it.
Okay, so for more information for you guys, it's very serious, just like you said. But we are dealing with it. And actually, we are building 2 very large hospitals specifically for this kind of virus. Each contain 1,000 beds, and we will finish it in around 10 days. And actually, you can watch the construction on YouTube. There's live.
Dude, think about that. Okay, here, this is why China is, the 21st century is the century of China. So you might as well, bro, how do you say, the Chinese are look, the Chinese will run the world. So please, this is just a given. How do you say welcome? But you'll have jobs because there'll still be McDonald's. And how do you say welcome to McDonald's? Can I take your order in Mandarin?
Welcome to McDonald's.
Yeah, welcome to McDonald's in Mandarin.
欢迎光临麦当劳.
Okay. So listen, as long as you can say that, you'll have a job. You're good. The Chinese will hire you because they'll need you.
We have Kentucky Fried Chicken and Burger King too.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
And if you came to order Pizza Hut in China, actually they have a lot more choice than in America. We have like barbecue snails in Pizza Hut in China.
Dude,
so yeah.
Exactly. And beer, right? You probably sell beer at Pizza Hut?
Yeah. KFC sell beers in China too.
KFC sells beers? All right.
And you don't have to show ID to buy it.
Dude, listen, man. So here's a thought.
Yo, China needs to hire that man as an ambassador.
So this is kind of like a question for you,
Yeah.
Sam. With this virus spreading, how do you think that'll affect like different microaggressions that may become present with?
Well, one of the things that happens, look, when something like this emerges, people get more afraid. And when they get more afraid, they start taking their fear out on somebody else, right? So, like, for example, I've traveled all over the Muslim world. I've never met a radical Muslim. You know what I mean? I've met radical Christians, but I've never met a radical Muslim, right? I've never met anyone who even said anything mean at all. But, 9/11 happens or something else happens, and, that's not to say there aren't radical Muslims, because there are plenty of Muslims who would like to fucking do lots of things, harm to me, just because I'm a stupid American, right? But in their minds. But look, what we'll do is we'll start taking it out. Like, imagine that the problem is it happened in China, right? The problem started in China, and the Chinese are the problem. It's like, no, this isn't about China. This is about the whole world. These things are happening everywhere. So what's going to happen is, if we're not careful, we start blaming other groups and other people, and then we act in these really violent or aggressive ways toward them. And then that becomes a problem, right? And that's part of what this class is all about, is to say, wait, let's really come to an understanding of what that is and how it is. And like, yeah. Yes, ma'am.
So Frost talked about how they're like building hospitals
Yeah.
for this specific virus. Are they building it in Wuhan?
In Wuhan. Yeah, Wuhan is completely, you can't get in and out of Wuhan at this
So
point.
are they using people in Wuhan to make these hospitals?
Yeah, yeah. Look, it's a city of 11 million people, right? So the vast majority of people in Wuhan don't have the virus, so they're busy operating. But think about this. You close down Wuhan. This is like a Hollywood dystopian film. You close it down. Where's the food? The shops are closed, right? What about all the people, Frost? What about all the people that don't have enough food in their houses, right? Restaurants are closed, supermarkets are opening, but really, this is intense. And how do you build this thing? And the fact that the Chinese can build a couple large hospitals so quickly is why they will rule the world. We'd still be over here with our system arguing about whether we should and who should do it. This is the nature, my friends. Those of us who think that democracy is the best form of government, when shit hits the fan, what you need is someone to just come in and take control and make the decision. And that's why Trump represents that kind of an idea here in the United States. Just come in and decide and go for it and stop asking questions and make things happen that have to happen. Now, he may not have the best solutions for things. You could make that argument pretty easily, but sometimes you can't sit back and talk. You just make it happen, and that's what's going on. Yeah.
Wuhan's like, you said 11 million people. That's like the size of LA. Imagine LA just shut down.
Yeah, you just basically build the wall, the Mexico wall. You build it around LA. Yeah, bro, go ahead.
All right, so the World Health Organization just an hour ago just declared it a global state of emergency, basically, which is huge because there's a cause and effect with that. So of course you have global resources putting an effort to help with the virus, but on the other hand, the economy takes a massive hit. So I was just going to ask you, what were your thoughts about the economic side and how big of a hit that has on the economy?
The economic things just close down, right? Things close down. You can't move anywhere. You can't go anywhere. This is a global world we are in. Y'all understand how many goods and services come out of China? Your phones, right? Everything is out of China. It's like it closes down. It's like the whole state of the entire global economy just comes to a grinding halt. And like, oh my God, this is great. This is big, has such an impact on our lives. It's awesome to see. As a sociologist, to me, this is the most awesome thing in the world, just to sit back and watch. But it's like, holy smoke. Do you have a question?
What do you mean by closing down? And now it's Chinese New Year and the factories, they don't work, so...
Yeah.
Now,
Look, so right now what's happening so now you have... Hey, by the way, how do you say... So you speak Mandarin?
Yeah,
How do you say happy? Can you tell the class what Chinese New Year is, by the way?
新年
Because this is
快乐。
really big. Just say like what it is. What is Chinese New Year?
It's maybe like Christmas, all family members get together and have a reunion meal. And, right.
So people who are living in different parts of China are all traveling.
They're going to go back to their hometown. And a lot of people from Wuhan go back to their hometowns. And I think that's a big problem. So at that time, one problem just showed, but the government didn't. So there's no news in media that stop people from going back home.
But this Chinese New Year, lots of people didn't travel,
They
right?
didn't travel, right?
People traveled, but lots of people did not travel,
Right.
as in previous years.
Yeah.
And streets and
So-
things are real quiet.
And now my family just stay at home and they didn't go out.
They didn't go anywhere.
Right. And I told my mom, I feel, now they live in my grandparents' house. I told it's a great chance for her to talk to her mom more because I feel my parents spend entire lives making money and now it seems like a destiny.
So there's a positive side to it.
Like people are going to realize something. No, no matter it's in government system or in their life, in their ideology, yeah, I feel they're gonna finally realize something.
Cool. So this is what I mean. There's always a positive and a negative that come together. That's the yin and the yang. Where are you from in China?
I'm from Zhejiang. It's a province in the east.
In the east, yeah. Yeah. So right now we don't see it, but we could see things just start slowing down.